Thanks everyone joining. We'll probably have a few more joining in a bit, but yeah, I just do the initial introduction of the webinars for those who are new to our series. So yeah, so welcome to Multimodal Weekly. This is the third session of our weekly webinar. Basically, we meet every Friday at 1:30 p.m. Pacific time for an hour, and some of the topics that we tend to cover included newest research topic in multimodal AI, some of the innovative multimodal application in different verticals, any interesting projects related to video or multimodal that the community members could like to share, some of the core video info technologies, and once in a while we'll have team members from our labs provide tutorials and guidelines on how to use the product. So yeah, we already have 2 sessions so far, and the engagement has been really well. And you can catch, this session on YouTube channel in case you missed some of the previous, gatherings. So today agenda we have 3 speakers in our community. We have Nicket, CEO of Sudokra, talking about how he used AI to run a media production company. We have Chris from Crunchyroll, who's been sharing a lot about his open source project, Groovy AI bot. And then we also have Japinder, the CEO of Clean Cut AI, to talk about how he's been building a tool that leverage AI to help filmmakers get better, high quality, storytelling products out of it. And yeah, next week we'll have a couple more folks that more focus on the research side of computer vision and multimodal research. So yeah, stay tuned and be sure to follow us for the upcoming session. Some quick logistic note on our webinar. Feel free to send any question you have on the chat, and then the speaker can answer them asynchronously after they finish their talk. And then we'll have a more structured Q&A session, roughly 5 to 10 minutes after all the presentation has been finished. Yeah, so with that, I'll let Nicket, our first speaker, to start sharing the screen and talk about how you use AI to run a media production company.
Thanks, James. Hey everyone, thanks for joining. Let me give you a quick, that's the tail slide. Hey everyone, my name is Nicket Uttarwar, founder and CEO of Sudokra, an automated media production company. And the prompt I wanted to give you guys today is, how many AIs does it take to run a media company? So in media and TV, there's a lot of hype about there's this one big AI system that's gonna take over the world and just create all of the media and content, and it's gonna take everyone's jobs. And they're all entertaining, I'll give you that. There's one show called Mrs. Davis recently that's come up, which I would recommend to people. It's all a similar concept, one AI. But the truth of the matter is that kind of artificial general intelligence it's a little bit further away. We are, and actually right now, the way AI and all of these ML models works they're all very, very specific. They solve a really, really specific narrow problem, and they're trained on data sets, and based on their training, their parameters, how whether it's structured, unstructured, a whole bunch of different things, it's going to make different predictions for the different use cases that you pointed towards. So in my opinion, it's going to be a lot of modular, smaller, stackable AI systems and models that are going to create a much bigger impact on the problem that you're trying to solve. But they all need to be really small and narrow focused ones. And that's actually the problem that we're tackling here at Sudokra. So the issue is that there's so much real-time data. There's so much data in general. We're in a data surplus right now. And that it's really hard to keep up and keep updated with all of the news feeds, the blogs, the updates in every single industry, in every single category. There's just a continual stream of information. And you need to be able to, and it's all mostly in text format. And unfortunately, if that makes it even harder for people who are visually impaired or the elderly, or people who just can't read a large amount of text one go, or let alone keep updated on whenever there's a new post or a new article or something to read. So for that reason, we created Sudokra. And we've got a text to video automated pipeline solution to basically pick up all of the information that's available in text, repackage it, and it's effectively an ETL pipeline to make it into a nice, easy to consume video that can be applied to practically any text data source. And fortunately, because text is so ubiquitous and like all of our solutions are language agnostic, we can do this type of text to video pipeline for multiple languages. For effectively, I want to say around like 50 to 80 languages are supported with like a few of the text to speech, the summarization tools, the AI, the large language models as well. So, and that's continuing to grow. It's going to soon cover practically every single language out there. So what do we do with this? Well, we made two products, Live Twitter TV and Article TV. So Live Twitter TV is a collection of around 30 YouTube channels, and they're also on Odyssey and Twitch, which create small little Twitter compilation videos of on specific topics. So the Thai channel picks up whatever's trending in Thailand, that hashtag, gets the tweets for that in Thai, and then makes a little video out of that using the Thai text-to-speech. And I recently swapped it over. So it's like every single tweet is like a little YouTube short. So it's very specific, very narrow, and that's all that does. And it continuously pushes out content every single day for that channel. Similarly, the Vietnamese one works in Vietnamese. The India one does it in Hindi. The Pakistani one does it in Urdu. And there's every single channel is very localized for the content that's being pushed out from that country, and it's localized for the users in that country who want to speak that language. And I mean, this is a great thing, but there were some challenges along the way. For this one specifically, and actually I just updated the slide yesterday because yesterday YouTube took down 6 of the channels, and the reason is because they were copyright content. And well, if I had a little bit more foresight back in the day, I wouldn't have chosen Twitter as a data source because I didn't realize that Twitter owns all of their own data. And so, you can't really just lift and take it. There's some restrictions on how much you can use their data. And especially if you're doing it in the scale at which I'm doing it, you're going to pick up a few red flags, and that's going to raise some alarms. So unfortunately, this might not continue on. But fortunately, I have another product called Article TV. And what this does, it takes scholarly articles and converts them into a video. And basically really small, it boils down the abstract, makes it really short and easy to consume, makes a little video, and there's also a stable diffusion element of it as well. So it makes now I can just go to it. I'll leave this slide there. These are like the links to the channels, and Suyang's gonna put the links later as well. But what it does is it will boil down the article. It'll put in a stable diffusion image of the article, so whatever it's relevant to. So if it's about material plasticity, you might get some stuff like that, like with elements and atoms. If it's about cattle rearing and developments there, it'll put updates there or images there, and then make short YouTube videos similar to LTTV and post them online. With this one, it's mobile optimized. So these are all short YouTube vertical videos that are in the YouTube Shorts category. And yeah, what I noticed was that for these type of programmatic content, and this is my advice to everyone out there who's making this type of programmatic content, Shorts is a better format because it's a lot more. The general consensus is that for shorter videos or short videos, it's okay to have like a text to speech or a robotic voice or have very narrow topic discussions. So Shorts worked a little bit better. And well, at this stage of the company, we're trying to figure out what are the type of problems where there's a lot of rich data sources, like a lot of data and real-time data, and there's a demand for that, but there's a mismatch in how we can connect the two people. And so that's where we're trying to figure out the new applications of this type of technology to create new data pipelines and create automated media production and serve it to the communities that may not have a reliable, digitally accessible form of or channel or a place where they can watch this type of content. And so that's what we're working on. I'd love to hear any ideas, suggestions, feedback on this type of thing, because we're a very, very, very young company, and so we're just starting off. And that's all I've got for today. I'll check out the comments and I'll field any questions anyone has later on.
Yeah, we actually still have some time, because Joe, you end quite early, so we got probably at least 5 minutes. So if anyone have real time question about what Nicket just share, feel free to unmute yourself and ask them.
Sounds good. I can take any questions.
Would you mind going back to the QR code screen, please, so I can try to run my phone on that?
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
That up there. And there we go. Yeah, let's share on this slide. Yeah, so these are all mobile optimized. So it works way better if you scan it on your phone, you get to the web page or the YouTube channel, and you can watch some of the videos there. So it's bucketed into 3 categories. Medicine is all medical articles exclusively. STEM is, STEM does kind of encompass medical, but I wanted to separate the two because frankly, there are a lot of medical articles and it muddies the water a little bit. And then social is a little bit of a catch-all of everything else. And that covers a lot of different social topics like animal husbandry or new applications of technology on society, anthropology. So these are the article channels that are live right now, and they constantly push content out. About every few hours, you should get a new video, and it also searches for new articles that came out every month. So it prioritizes the newer articles, but if it blows through all of them, then it picks up from backlog of older ones.
Very cool. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I think Japi was unmuting for a little bit. Somebody have some question, and then I saw Craig, so unmute. So yeah, feel free to ask them right now.
I was just curious to hear about why you started this, and maybe I'm just interested in that, like where the origin of this came from.
Sure. Yeah. So a few years ago, there was a farmer strike in India, in Gujarat, and my grandma is a farmer, and I asked her about it. I was like, hey, have you heard about this? What is your hot take on it? I was kind of curious. And she effectively said, no, I'm not on the internet. If someone sends me a WhatsApp video, I might watch it. But effectively, if it's near real time, I'm most likely just going to wait till it shows up on the news tomorrow, or I'll wait till someone calls me and tells me. And so I realized that there is a gap where there's a lot of people who have the want and need for rich real-time information, but they might not have the best avenues to be able to consume it. So that's why I originally created the Twitter one, because I knew that was like a hashtag on Twitter and I could make a video on it. But then I eventually realized that that might not be the best data source to use. So there are other ones to pursue. Similarly with articles, there's a discoverability issue, because there's so many of them that come out every single month, but people don't really know how to find the right ones, which ones are relevant to them, unless in their specific circles, people kind of percolate those articles. And so what I'm using is using the YouTube algorithm with the keywords and the tags and everything in there to kind of find the right people who it would be applicable to. So if you search for, battery technology and lithium ion developments, and if that's a really common search for your profile, then the videos for the developments in those articles would eventually make them their way to you. So that was the kind of thinking and understanding of using the algorithm as a whole to kind of connect the dots and the demand to the videos and the bank of videos.
That's an awesome story. Thank you for sharing.
Thanks for asking.
Craig, you want to ask your question?
Yeah, I'm just curious if you mentioned the Twitter licensing problem, but have you looked at other potential sources that might not have the licensing issue? I'm thinking of, I don't actually know what the licensing issue is on Wikipedia, but it would be like Zhihu or Weixin or something like that. Some of the Chinese ones, internationally, when you mention Thai and Vietnamese, there's got to be a way of getting out from the Twitter legal umbrella, I would think.
Oh, that is a fantastic question. And also what a great point about Wikipedia, because that's the next one that I am looking at. Wikipedia is, they have licenses for every article. At the very end of the page, it's either like Creative Commons or it's a private license. So
Creative Commons,
I'm most likely going to do is use those Wikipedia sources and make videos on them. There is the reason why Twitter worked so well was I did a study of like what are all of the sources out there, and for me the requirements were it should have short, concise text input.
Yeah.
Twitter, like you have a limited amount of text you can put. It should allow multimedia, and most importantly, it should have a programmable API that I can query and get the information from. And so Twitter kind of met all of those criteria, and I could segregate them based on a hashtag as well. So bucket up the different things together. Wikipedia is a really good one as well. So I think that might be the one to pivot away from live Twitter.
Yeah, in terms of, it makes me think of like Pexels and Unsplash too, because I'm looking all the time for videos on there as well as photos. And but you look for text, so that might be a place to put it too.
Yeah, actually, it brings up a funny point. I was using, for the articles, prior to Stable Diffusion, I was querying Google and then Pexels for images. So it was like, hey, whatever the article is about, I'll get the keywords from it, get the images and see that in. So it'll be somewhat more visual and interactive. The problem was that some of the articles had abbreviations. So one of them particularly had the word ANT as an abbreviation for, I forget what it was a really medical term, but that ANT, guess what it did? It picked up that keyword, looked for images of ANT, and I just got a whole bunch of images bans. And that was the type of problem that I had. And fortunately for me, when I was hitting this issue, Stable Diffusion was kind of picking up, and that's why it just worked as a solution at the time. So I got really lucky in terms of timing to be able to use Stable Diffusion. But in terms of like the images search, it's Pexels and Google, they have a huge database of them, but they're not applicable for every use case. And so if you don't have control of the data input, or if you're not managing it, then that variability can hurt you a little bit.
Cool. Anyway, thank you.
Awesome. If you have any more questions for Nicket, feel free to push them on the Zoom chat. So I want to introduce Chris Kennedy, who will talk about Groovy AI bot making AI chat multimedia exploration. Yeah, so feel free to share your screen and start your presentation.
Okay, Chris Kennedy. I'm here today to present GAIB, the Groovy AI bot, creating a multimodal experience with chat plus AI. I basically have spent my nights and weekends working on GAIB AI bot, off work hours. During the day, I work at Crunchyroll as a video engineer, and I've worked on video for over 20 years, doing many parts of it. Worked at clipping services. We used to do video analysis where we did things like what AI is really going to do awesome now. You really want something like that. Image video fingerprinting with perceptual hashes for recognition. I've even used that for video quality purposes of comparing video differences. Experimented with upscaling anime, YP2X. We did some work at Crunchyroll, posted a blog, and I did a talk on that at the video meetup in San Francisco before. And AI has completely changed my direction from video focused to include multimodal too now, and think of video a lot differently, or more of an experience. In the experience of communication, particularly, I've been really longing lately to seeing the longevity of life and loved ones and friends and distance, and being able to talk to people and trying to get their sentiment possibly with AI into personalities. And so I was playing around with my messages and originally using like chat bots to try to recreate conversations. Wanted to be able to model my mother for when she passes. And I started to want a more sensory experience with visual and auditory cues, and more, something to see, something to hear. And then kind of after simulating conversations between my friends and doing interesting things, I started to see and create stories, episodes, basically arcs of, keep it going. And that kind of became GAIB. And so basically I started to get really obsessed with immersing yourself in this captivating story that you just create, and it's your own, and it's just live. And it's, I started watching Always Break Time on Twitch TV, and it's, 24/7 AI anime, but they're the same model, same people. And I wanted it really to be instant, which is a big ask, but I started trying to do it. I want it to be customizable to and tweak the chat, and so everyone could have their own unique experience. So I got this chat bot that everyone seems to be using, this chat-based chat bot here, and so using a Pinecone vector database to get context when you ask questions of PDF documents, and uses the GPT to formulate the answers in search with that context, or use that context from the search. And it looks like this, and it was nice, but then I started working on GAIB, and I started filling in with multimedia stuff. And it's really interesting that out of all the forks of 2.3K, we've got like 19 most starred. The most starred is great, and I've really refactored. I've done so many changes to this. So I basically turned into something more like this, where it's open source, of course. You can use it on ai.groovy.org to test it. I have to limit the tokens. It does cost, but it's, I'm putting in group chat. I'd like to put into this to share the chats, previous chat recall, feed sources would be nice to have it feed through GAIB, automation, 24/7 generation of, episode content, arc seasons, and listen to respond like Alexa. You can talk to GAIB. You can ask GAIB, GAIB will talk back. So it's, pretty much hands-free somewhat, but not like an Alexa yet. And personalities, I added a bunch of personalities and modes. I really like theology, and I'm a video engineer. So I put a whole lot of, I have the whole FFmpeg development user mailing list in my Pinecone database, and you can use that to be like a video engineer, stories or questions, tell you very interesting stories about FFmpeg, and theological stuff, all the Vedas and ancient Buddhist texts, where you can just discuss whatever you need to do with what you are, and you can do poetry, songs, and have interviewer. I need to work on the basic chat PDF mode, and some of these I've been really focused on the anime, just turning things into anime stories. So basically, here's an example what GAIB currently works like. You could say, and this, you're going to basically set GAIB up as a video engineer mode with video engineer vector stored, and question mode here, and you can choose how many documents, so you get more diverse information, and you can chain. That's something I just recently did.
How does video
So you can
compression
help basically.
Answer begins. Video compression works by reducing the amount of data needed to encode digital video content, resulting in either lossy or lossless,
It starts
generating considerable hardware overhead in the level of compression should be decided
goes
based
through
on
basically everything that a person would want to know
compression
about
standards.
video compression overall, gives you the references,
Standards used for
and
HD
various
and 4K videos.
mail lists. So that was basically the state it's at right now. And so, yeah, basically combining AI and chat, and also emphasizing accessibility. GAIB can translate between all languages that are available on Google, pretty much speech to text, text to speech. I've got it where you can switch the subtitles to any language, the speaking to any language translations, and they look like anime subtitles. They're nice. Try to make them nice like that. Try to make the stories very, make it where you could create any stories, just like anime. There's so many different types of anime you can watch in genre. Just give people flexibility, and it's just like right now all these chat bots are appearing in AI things, and AI is becoming like another person in the chat, and just merging all of it together to make a full immersion. It's really what I've been obsessed with, and just starting with text generation, and I just really wanted more. And anime meme, and it's like memes. I use pixels actually, and it creates interesting memes a lot of times with the each subtitle line, and then you'll have a image with it, and kind of like, I want to create the video and I'd like to create the images, but it's a start, but it's formed something interesting there. It's a future dynamic video and images. And so you get to basically have chat adventures or stories. You can create arcs of episodes. I have it where the last episode will be the ending episode. So I'm working on crafting the whole thing. A lot of things to do. It reminds me of the early 90s, which when there's a lot of chat rooms appearing back then. And I've been using ChatGPT to just code this very quickly. It's just, I started in April, and it's like I don't program in TypeScript normally, but now I'm writing things in TypeScript without ChatGPT always, but then I'll do bigger refactors or ask something I really, I just sit there sometimes and think about something, or ask my daughter, what should we do? And we come up with some big feature and add it in. There's a lot of tasks the chatbot can handle. 1 second here. Here's the slide I missed. Right here is actually my this is actually the chatbots in the 90s reference from originally back in, I built this chat.groovy.org. And I had been running this in 1998, and I just started building chat rooms with, I was putting WAV files in them and trying to like do images. And so this is really like, it feels as if it's been a big leap forward from that state that we used to be in there. But yeah, so basically, and recalling past discussions, that's where I'd like to get into more like, my background is psychology and art originally. And so I really would like to reflect, create human simulations of human thinking. And similar, like if there's an auto GPT that is interesting, it's similar stuff like that, where you can remember the past conversations, episodes, or just create whole series of episodes that then have context to the previous episodes. So create content like that with context, and enhancing user interactions with it. Like when you filter with GAIB, if we put chat into it, then you could have safety modes for preventing certain things that you are maybe triggered by, mental health things or communication issues where you have trouble communicating or you don't speak clearly. It could help you with that. Real-time translation and captions, like making sure everything's like a Star Trek communicator and really easy to use every time for everyone just to understand each other immediately. And just augmentation of the knowledge, like when you speak, like other references could come up as you speak to help out. But it's basically what I've been working on, and I'm really enjoying it. But Chris K and my daughter's Emma Odell, and this is in memory of her mom, Jamie, who passed actually last week. So it's very sad. And that's one, like now I'm like making me a Jamie bot. So that ai.groovy.org is where GAIB's at, daughter's website, the GAIB source, and then also I have Twitch TV. I stream GAIB on their examples and I develop it to practice and test things. So thank you.
Awesome. Thanks a lot for going over all this. Let's do some, maybe we still have 5 minutes for question. 5+ minutes. So I think let's have some real-time question. People are curious to learn more about Chris' process of building Groovy AI bot.
Yeah, thanks so much for sharing. Like, this is super cool, and like the evolution of the chat, going along with the evolution of internet and AI. It's really remarkable. I'm just curious, like you mentioned that you can upload documents, like what kind of conversation or documents can you do? And I guess it's fascinating because if you can input personal messages or conversation, you really are able to, in a way, recreate personal relationships with friends or family. And so it is very much like what Craig said, like it's very sci-fi and really incredible.
Thank you.
I had a question, Chris. You mentioned like theology and like psychology. Like, what have you had any like interesting conversations with like historical figures? Like I don't know, did you talk to Jesus or I don't know, Gandhi, like what have you tried that out? Like what are the what have you found?
I've simulated lots of things and it's interesting that like one time suddenly it started talking about AI Jesus. It had some very interesting things that you find, and it's I've got all these Buddhist texts that are very hard to go through. No one can really go through all those, right? Unless you're a Lama, you know. So those things are interesting because you get some interesting sentiment out of them that's very meaningful. And you know, there's so many Buddhist things out there, but you see, I'm seeing unique things I have not seen before, and that's what those texts are full of. So that's very, and also I've translated GPT-4, the Tibetan that's not been translated yet, and it was readable. And I worked at I worked for free at a retreat that we were translating Tibetan at. They were, and it's like I told them about it, and it's viable for that stuff, and it's pretty cool.
Wow. Oh, that's incredible. Like even non-English text, if like, well, through large language models, you can find like translate them and input them into this type of software. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and that Tibetan, it's like the way it's written, it's written to explain consciousness and stuff. So yeah, it's like getting things that English is hard to understand.
Oh, I can imagine like having seeing a conversation between like I don't know, like maybe Jesus and one of the previous Dalai Lamas. Like
I've had them all talk.
They might not share the same language, but they can communicate over this. That would be really crazy.
You can do it.
That'd be cool. Nice.
Nice. Yeah. I guess my question is, you know, I think you make the analogy of like how this is similar to the 90s chatbot revolution, right? Yeah, maybe can you double click on that, like kind of how for folks who like either, you know, like born in the 2000s or like later on, like what was your experience back then, and how, given your experience with that, how to see like the current AI chatbot, you know, gonna unfold to better like human communication, expression, those kind of things. Yep.
Yeah, basically we were, you know, I remember I got my website up, and it was amazing because no one had websites, and it's because my dad worked at a math department, so I'd seen the internet and Linux, so I built it at home and was like running a website. And then yeah, it was like I found chat rooms, and that was like everybody was basically just, it was a wild west. It was like, whoa, what are we doing? We're able to talk through this, and we were trying to do links to images and all this media, and you just see freaky things. Like it was like the chat room was like a programming experiment, and so that's what it feels like. This AI stuff's like, it's just real guts that are out there. Yeah. I mean, I remember seeing a chat room, and I was thinking, you know, if you take a chat room and just write things on it, it's like a log, and that became a blog or a forum. It's like I sensed that back then before forums. I was doing that kind of with some of my chat bots, is putting information up just to leave it, and yeah.
Fabulous. Yeah, there was one question on adaptability of your product from Priyanka.
Oh, it's interesting that yeah, it's definitely like people will go in there. I've noticed more people than I thought try it out. I've limited tokens, so it's some early on they didn't have enough tokens, and it's the type of thing where I don't think a lot of people even know what it's going to be like. I didn't know I was going to make it, so it's kind of I don't know. It's kind of like my own thing right now that I'm trying to see what it can do, and it could be like think of it like an engine that you could branch off. I mean, you could make many kinds of stories or anything.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And really appreciate you keep sharing your progress on our Discord as you make new implementation or features. Yeah, and I think I'm like extremely impressed by the technical work behind, like with I think PyCon and you know LangChain, etc. So yeah, look forward to seeing more of those. If any other people have question more regarding Groovy AI bot for Chris, feel free to put them in the chat. And with that, I let the final speaker of our webinars to start sharing the screen. So Japinder, CEO of Clean AI, we got a chance to meet in person just a few weeks ago, and I know he's been working on very interesting stuff to bring the power of this new generation of video AI into the hand of video editors. So yeah, would love to have others to experience as well.
Hi everyone, I'm Jappy. You can call me Jappy, that's my nickname. It's a pleasure to be here with you guys, and thank you, James and So Young, for having this community. It's very early stages in the world of video AI, as Chris mentioned and alluded to the early 90s. It's really exciting to be here, and I'm excited to see where all of you will grow and continue building, and yeah, it's like I can definitely see we all are very passionate about video and very bullish, and that's why we're here on a Friday afternoon talking about the future of video, and it's awesome to be amongst you guys. So I'll just share my screen and kind of get started there. I think I have to rejoin. There's some, so I'll just do that quickly. Sorry.
Yeah, in the meantime, I was kind of curious, where is 12 Labs headquartered? Because I think I noticed last time you were in a different office and like you had another person next to you, James. And I'm kind of curious, where you guys, are you all spread out, or is there HQ you all go to?
Yeah, so we actually have two offices. We have one in San Francisco, and we also have research and engineering office in Korea. So we're in two locations. I'm actually visiting our Seoul office at the moment, so it actually just turned day. And then James is in our SF office.
Cool. All right. Well, hey, if you ever do a in-person meeting, that would be fun to join. Sure. I'm down.
Yeah, we really love hosting lunches. Would love to, yeah, if any of you are in SF, would love to host a lunch sometime.
Yeah, I caught the tail end of that. Yeah, the sun just came out. So, yeah, I was in LA last weekend. Like, I missed the sun already. Like, it's just but yeah, sorry about that technical difficulty. But yeah, so I'm Juppy from CleanCut.ai. I've been a cinematographer for 9 years. The content I've worked on has garnered hundreds of millions of views. We worked on federal campaigns for the government, worked on commercials for Saks Fifth Avenue and large brands, doing story-driven content, branded films on corporations and their stories. So a lot of work has been put towards creating good stories and creating journeys and creating these, stringing the audience along on an adventure and trying to retain their attention and get them to a destination with your story. And it's very hard work. It doesn't matter what equipment you use or like who your teammates are. If your story that isn't good, no one will care about watching your video, and it's a very challenging part of the process. The companies that we work with pay a lot of money to get these videos made, and it's very important to have the quality content and having a good story. And unfortunately, it's much harder than it sounds. And it takes a lot of practice and expertise to make these types of these videos. So I'll dive into what that process has been like for me, and yeah, just to begin with, the tools that we use today are not conducive to our processes. For example, Premiere Pro does not offer a lot of support with AI, and historically hasn't, and they're still struggling to roll these types of features out. And the alternative options are cloud-based tools. As professionals, we're filming terabytes and terabytes of media, and these tools aren't cutting it for us in the production environments. So there's still a lack of really a huge hole for practical applications and tools that actually work well with high accuracy and are actually practical for us. It just doesn't exist. So that's why we kind of built CleanCut.ai. It started as an internal tool in our own film production agency that we used. And from there, we started working with other film studios and integrating it into their pipelines. And just gonna elaborate that we're bringing AI to existing workflows. So rather than trying to rebuild the wheel, we believe that integrating ourselves into existing workflows, it seems to be the most practical solution. Being on the ground, being on the trenches, and actually talking to video editors, professionals in these environments, seems like bringing AI into their existing workflow seems like the most viable option, the least friction for them. I'm very curious to also make a note about, I think this is how Unity is working as well, and Blender, instead of creating entirely new ecosystems, it seems like they're opening the doors up for creators to bring in expanded capabilities into the existing workflows. So taking a note from that as well. So yeah, meet Spingle. He's your personal AI. Works in existing video editing softwares, and we're expanding to 5 integrations. Right now we have 3, and we're piloting with the next 2. So working with Avid, DaVinci, Final Cut, and Premiere as well, After Effects. So our AI has the capability to watch all of the footage locally without uploading, and it watches all the footage, and then it understands what parts to keep and what parts to remove based off of our previous training data. So we're integrating into the video editing pipeline, and the way we created our AI was by approaching it from a bottom-up understanding of what compromises a shot, and how do we create these shots. It's with equipment, certain types of equipment and mechanisms, and those types of equipment and mechanisms are very much attached to the style and the definition of the theme, and for example, a drone shot is very different than a tripod shot or a Steadicam shot. And from a computer vision standpoint, it's really important to understand what type of equipment is being used. It helped us qualify to create the AI to qualify whether the shot should be chosen or not chosen, especially based on camera motion, lighting, composition, and the framework around these cinematic practices. So right now, our product is able to save 1/3 of video editing time by understanding these cinematic understandings, and essentially being able to choose what the shot, whether it's good or if it's passable, or if you would want to remove it. So yes, essentially very deep focus on computer vision, and I've been working on this product again, we had implemented it in our own film studio, and from there, that's how we kind of trained it, and we were able to expand it to additional film studios from there. And yes, so from there we can, I wanted to kind of talk about film history as well a little bit, and it's really interesting to me to be amongst you guys, and wanted to kind of prompt a bit of a discussion on this. But video editing is very old. Filmmaking is pretty old, right? It's like, it's 2025, so it's like 120 years, you know what I mean? Like, it's a very old technology, and we can see the progression of how video editing has changed, starting with montages. In the year 1916, that's when montage theory started in Russia. And you can see this is a great example of juxtaposition. You see a man and then you see food, so the man is hungry. Or you see a man and there's a deceased person, so the man is mourning. Or the man is looking at a woman, so he's in love, right? So this is the basis of juxtaposition and changing the psychology of your understanding based off of the sequence of shots. And this is a very early innovation in video editing from the early 1900s. And from there, going to the French New Wave and doing more jump cuts, where maybe you have a shot of the man and it cuts to a completely different environment that might not even be in the same location, and it's just very jarring to the viewer. And then cutting to going and advancing to different types of techniques like parallel editing, where you're cutting between two scenes happening at the same time, where in the story. So it's amazing how video editing has advanced, and the medium of storytelling has also advanced, and where we're at right now with non-linear editing systems. And the future, I believe, of media is VR and AR immersion as well. That's where we're headed for sure, especially with the AR announcements from Apple. And now, what's interesting to understand from here is this is actually a very early illustration of how video editing montage was done in the early 1900s. And with reference to Multimodal Weekly, this is a multimodal version of video editing in the 1900s, where they're considering how the score would be placed alongside with each shot, and even as far as breaking down a depth map. Then this is in the 1900s, so this is how they're thinking about composing a scene, and the crescendo of the music, and how in the bottom layer in the chapters, how the music would be amplified and with the scene. And I wanted to allude to how much thought is put into pre-production and the planning as well. Especially, you can see like more than 100 years ago, this is the type of thinking that's happening. And we can see how complex these dimensions are. And I think that's something that's very exciting to me, is bringing in these different modalities to create these scenes, and how it affects the psychology of the viewer. And for the first time, we're able to consider these things together. We're having, especially with looking at what 12 Labs is doing with the video and audio and text combinations. It's like really the first time we're able to do this in the history of technology, where we're able to consider these different modalities at the same time in a contextual way with time series data. So being able to connect the beginning to the end and have a context about all of the information. So I wanted to allude to how complex this problem is, and how long people have really been thinking about this. So that brings me to the next segment where I would love to show you guys how Clean Cut works. So I'm just going to share the product here. This is Adobe Premiere Pro. And this is a project that, so I'm a cinematographer. I do video for fun as well now. Like 90% of my time is building, and then like I'll do video projects for fun. But this is just a short demo that I filmed here in SF a few weeks back, and you can see like there's a bunch of raw footage here in my timeline. This is Adobe Premiere Pro. For those that are not familiar, this is a professional video editing software. And it requires a lot of manual work. And what we're doing here is, as a video editor, I have to go in and I have to watch all the footage. And I have to select like what parts are good that I want to keep. And importantly, to remove the parts that I don't like as much. So like there, I would place a cut. Like, the camera kind of goes a bit awry there. So I would cut that out and maybe segment it. Put it to the side, like isolate that, so I know that the rest is good, that this part is bad. So just the fundamentals of video editing, very basic first step in the process, filtering out the good and the bad. Now, what we can do instead is open up Clean Cut. And again, this is bringing AI to existing workflows. So we're working with video editing softwares that already exist. Now I just dragged in my media and I'm just going to press clean. And the important part here is that it's running locally. So we're processing all the video here. We don't need to upload anything. So I just ran through all the video and I get to just press export. I can choose a threshold. This is like sensitivity for my settings, such as camera motion. Again, the cinematography that I described. This is a threshold to determine how strict we are on our filtering system. And this is an organizational setting. So I'm going to press export. And while it processes, again, I want to allude to the fact that we're going with the bottom-up approach so that we can have a more deterministic decision-making, where, you know, editing is a very creative process and we don't want to take that away from the creator. We want to give them superpowers and help them get to their destination faster. So we're not going to make the creative decisions for them, but we can help them make more of the deterministic decisions, which are more of the base principles of filmmaking and video editing. And so we can go back to the same section, but you can see here, essentially did the entire task for me, and this is a task that would take me a lot of time, hours, and it just instantly did that for me. So now we can see, like, just gonna mute that, but you can see like the red is selected as like the bad, and this is all like stuff that I would cut out, and then like the blue is the stuff that I would keep. So this translates to lots of different workflows. Our users are larger studios that are editing thousands of hours of media, so saving them 30% of their time is huge. And yeah, it's amazing. It's an amazing time for video editing and creators, and we find that with our users, they're able to spend more time on the creative parts and the parts that they love the most, of working with the emotion and the feeling and the being able to really spend time on the part that matters the most, which is the story, and less of the grunt work. So yeah, that's pretty much where we're at. And we have some very exciting products that we're piloting right now, and love to keep you posted on that as well. And yeah, thank you. And I would love to hear any questions or yeah.
Wow, Japu, this is incredible. I'm more impressed with how fast it was able to process the whatever. It's like 5 minutes or more, right? Like, well, 8 minutes, even more. So it must be. First off, how long is this input video that you use? And it was able to process it in like 20 seconds or so. how does it depend on the power of your computer, like how powerful your or is it just generally this quick?
Yeah, so there's a combination of technologies that we use. Again, we focused on a bottom-up approach of first understanding what type of equipment, and having that ability gives us, we don't have to process as much data. So we're able to do things like multi-threading as well. And I think the future of AI is very much aligned with local models that run on local hardware. And it's hard for me to imagine uploading terabytes of media as a professional, and I don't know if that'll change in the next 5 years. So yeah, I think with the processing, we are able to just really hone in on what decisions we made as video editors, and instead of like having a godlike entity that knows there's an all-being knowledgeable power, like we didn't really need that. We don't need a 4x4 gasoline diesel truck. Like we're good with like a hybrid Nissan. Like it runs locally, so it's, yeah, that's why it's super fast.
Nice.
Very cool.
Yeah, and on that note, though, I saw Travis put a message on chat. Like, did you face any significant technical challenge in minimizing the model to run locally on local community hardware? So I think, can you elaborate more on sort of the technical modification that you have to make?
Yeah, there's definitely challenges that we face, but because I've been in the film industry, I was able to kind of hone in on, again, what parts of the process to focus on. And I think with video, it's easy to get caught up in how much data there is, and what part do I focus on, what part do I leave out. And like, I think that's how we're able to kind of navigate our technology and our architectures to focus on certain parts of the video. So that's definitely how we're able to go faster. And so I see this other question here from Priyanka. Yeah, so a lot of the work is manual. Yeah, so this is the future where we're able to essentially give superpowers to creators and help them get to their destination faster. And I see Michael or Michelle, the power of editing, hosted by commercial editors, AICP. Okay, that's cool.
Oh, I'm just giving extra color to what you were showing with the Kuleshov experiments and all those things, that there's a great competition here in the US that the editors have to take. The famous one they did was the first one where they took, I can't even think of the name of the movie anymore, with Dead on a Friday Afternoon. Here's Johnny, whatever that movie was, and they turned it into a family-friendly movie, right? Just using the same footage. So
Okay.
just kind of, yes, and they just show the power of taking the exact same footage but completely turning it around into a different trailer.
Oh,
And
wow, that's cool.
They do that every year. They do it every year. They get a set of movies and they have to pick a completely different genre than what the movie is, and then change the music, change things. But it's fascinating to see what editing can do.
That is amazing. Yes, yeah, that very much so. I think that's a great connection there, and yeah, I believe we're referring to The Shining by Stanley Kubrick.
Shining, yes.
Yeah, yes, epic movie for sure. Wow, that sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah, making it, editing it so it's like friendly for children. Yeah, great.
There's no question from Priyanka asked whether or not Clean Cut can help in storyboarding.
Yeah, I think we're focused on more of the post-production, whereas storyboarding is more pre-production. And I think that they're two very different processes, two very different parts of the pipeline. And yeah, so storyboarding is very important as well in the filmmaking process, but there's different types of ways to create things. Like some directors don't storyboard at all. Some directors just want to show up and meditate and like vibe on the set, and they're amazing. But then some want to plan everything to the T, and like so I think this storyboarding is cool, and we definitely do that. We storyboard as well, but we're focused on more of the post side of things.
Is it always working off of a sequence, or are you eventually going to get to just the dailies and be able to flag them as markers rather than separate clips?
Yes, great question. We just wrapped up a series with a TV show where we were doing the dailies as well. So we're piloting a new technology as well that is focused on what you just referenced of targeting takes and understanding like dialogue as well.
Very cool.
Nice. So we run about 3 minutes over time. Is there any other burning question that attendees have for Japinder before we conclude? So Peter put something on the chart. How granular can you edit, whether it's frame level or seconds?
Yeah, that's a setting you can manipulate within the app, and you can go all the way down to a frame if you want. It's there's a filter setting that you can adjust.
Awesome. Great. So I think, yeah, we can wrap up the webinar. Well, thanks for sharing a bit about Clean Cut and the history of video editing, progression, and the multimodal aspect of it, as well as how you can leverage AI to accelerate the process of post-production workflow. So yeah, you want to stop sharing screen for just 1 second?
Yep.
Yeah, and just a note to wrap up, we have this webinar session every Friday, 1:30 to 2:30 p.m. And again, this is like the list of speaker that we got next week that focus more on the research AI side of thing. So yeah, be sure to come by if you're more interested in the technical algorithmic challenges of doing so. Thanks everyone for joining, and hope you have a great rest of your weekend. Cheers.
Thank you.
Right.
Thanks everyone.
Guys. Thanks for hosting this. See you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
See you
you.
next week.
And if anyone wants to reach out, please don't hesitate. All right. Thank you.